Hello everybody. In this video we will try to understand what is basically the Uttarashadha energy professions. Based on the professions and other things, we will try to understand this Uttarashadha energy much more. See, basically Uttarashadha energy is starting in the Sagittarius final area. So that's where it has the energy of preachers, priests, counselors, astrologers, lawyers, because Sagittarius energy is all about this one, right? So lawyers are also good lawyers you can find in Uttarashadha. Based on the behavior also, Uttarashadha people are very pure hearted, right? They talk about the truth. They want to, their impulses, the Uttarashadha energy impulses continuously, make them to talk about ethical things. So even the lawyers of Uttarashadha, they are very good. They are very ethical in nature, and judges, government officials, right? Because Uttarashadha is the sun's nakshatra. So when you talk about Uttarashadha energy, you talk about government officials and psychologists, right? Based on the behavior of Uttarashadha, as they are pure hearted, they try to understand the psychology also, in a to help the people, not to gain some advantage. Or the psychologists of cancer, they are different from the psychologists of Uttarashadha type. In cancer you can find Punarvasu 4, which is a very good psychology related nakshatra, and Aslesha nakshatra is full of psychology, right? So compared to that, this particular, of course, Punarvasu 4 people, they are also psychologists. They try to help the people to some extent. And Aslesha, of course, they try to take advantage by knowing the psychology of others. Whereas Uttarashadha, they try to know the psychology, they observe, and then they help a lot. They are pure hearted. Basically, Uttarashadha people are very, very pure hearted. And Uttarashadha is very famous for aggression related activities, and also it's famous for declaring wars as well. So all military professions also related to Uttarashadha. And explorers, wrestlers, sword fighters, and other combat sports, athletes, elephant trainers. So whenever you talk about Uttarashadha, you talk about elephants, elephant tusks. You talk about all elephant related energy also when you talk about Uttarashadha. And the business executives, because the Saturn is starting here, right? And Mercury is good in some of the padas of Uttarashadha, right? Generally Uttarashadha 3, right? So there, this Mercury is also finding very good expression in Uttarashadha 3rd pada, right? So that's where this business executives, organizers, of course Uttarashadha is very organizing in nature, and defense industry, authority figures of all types, teachers, gods, high class servants. And because there's an amalgamation of sun energy and Saturn energy here. Saturn is servant, but as sun is present here, it's going to be a bit high class. So high class servants, you can say. So, and another thing is bird watchers, because when you talk about sun, you talk about birds. So bird watchers and bird related enthusiasm, that is present in Uttarashadha energy as well. And bodyguards, security personnel, rangers, hunters, construction industry, because Mars finds expression in this nakshatra, especially if you see this particular Uttarashadha second pada, right? That finds expression very much. Mars is very, very good in Uttarashadha second pada, and also Uttarashadha fourth pada. It finds its expression, Mars. So that's where this particular the things that we're talking about, that's about this construction industry. So that is also good in Uttarashadha energy. When cricketers, holistic physicians, politicians, because uh, before the beginning of the Uttarashadha video in the first part and the second part we talked about, Uttarashadha is very famous for leadership issues, leadership related conflicts. So they form an alliance with a political party which is in the government, and or they form government with some alliance and they try to gain the power, right? They want the power. That kind of struggle also you can observe in Uttarashadha. So whenever you talk about Uttarashadha, you talk about politicians for sure. So in the present day and age, yes, politicians you can find in Uttarashadha, right? And all professions requiring a sense of responsibility and ethics, that's all Uttarashadha energy. And the places that are very much associated with Uttarashadha energy are mountainous forests, national parks, wildlife sanctuaries, bird sanctuaries, reservations, government buildings and grounds, courts, temples, churches and other religious buildings, universities, college campuses, military bases, traditional towns and cities, and elite gentlemen clubs and societies, sports stadiums, cricket grounds, all professions connected with the you know all professions connected with the Sun Jupiter amalgamation. That's all, and the places where these professionals generally walk, right? Those are all Uttarashadha energy only. They're all actually wandering with Uttarashadha energy, you can say. And it is a very, very, good nakshatra. It's a very good one. It's a Sattvic nakshatra. And the Sattvic and benevolent nature of this nakshatra can be clearly seen through the ruling deity, that is, ruling deities Vishwadevas, for sure. The 10 Vishwadevas, as we discussed in our part 2 of this particular Uttarashadha videos, right? And it belongs to air element as well, and its connection is related to Saturn is airy basically. So air is the most all encompassing element, and Uttarashadha is, it has more to do with responsibility as well, responsibility, equality and justice. So definitely, right, the 10 golden qualities it would try to establish. So it is considered to be a human nakshatra only, even though it has association with Vishwadevas. See, because its intense involvement of this nakshatra with human affairs on earthly realm, making it as a human nakshatra. Most of the part of Uttarashadha is in the sign of Capricorn, where that earthy energy is present. So whenever there is so much of earthy energy, you cannot classify that as a godly nakshatra, even though it is connected to godly energies, even though it is connected to Vishwadevas, because of its earthly nature, lord of earth, earthly area, that's Capricorn, right? So earthly nature in the sense human only. And even if even if you want to classify, right, you can go to the extent of demigods, because it's most of its part is in the human, that earthly area, right? So you can classify, if you want to say more than human, you can say demigods kind of energy is present in this particular nakshatra. And it's an upward nakshatra, something like all upward nakshatras are considered good for things which grow or progress over time. So that is the meaning. Down the upward nakshatra means what? As they progress along with the time, for sure, right? So that's why it is considered as an upward nakshatra, as a very positive nakshatra, right? And they achieve a very good results over the time. And another way of looking at is that Uttarashadha uh, takes the ethics and responsibility, right, So to some extent they are very positive in the heart, right? So they have that, right, some good amount of ethics for sure. That's where it's always looking upwards, and it's a fixed nakshatra as well. If there is any nakshatra which can be considered as a symbolism of permanence, it is Uttarashadha only. It's a symbolism of permanence. See, in fact, all the qualities associated with the character Dhruva, that is, son of a demon king who was uh, a worshipper of Vishnu, right? And you know the story of Dhruva, right? So you can clearly see the Dhruva energy is very much present in Uttarashadha. People generally, when they talk about Uttarashadha for a long time, definitely they quote the story of Dhruva for sure. And the pole star is called as Dhruva Tara, Dhruva Nakshatra, Dhruva Tara. Tara is nothing but Nakshatra in Sanskrit. In Vedic text, it is very much mentioned, the Dhruva Tara or the pole star, we say, that is Uttarashadha. And one can understand that Uttarashadha is the pivot of good qualities around which the game of life revolves. Game of life not only revolves around the drama, it also revolves around some good qualities. All those good qualities you can put together, can see the Uttarashadha, right? Any person's life, you take some good qualities, all those good qualities you separate, make it as a pack, and that pack, and the pack of energy is Uttarashadha only. Uttarashadha is that much good energy, basically, I want to tell. And then it relates to the second half of the lunar month of Ashadha, a period which usually falls in late July in our solar calendar. And Uttarashadha is also related to Purnima, the 15th Tidhi or full moon day, basically, just not 15th Tidhi, because, it's Purnima means complete moon, full moon. That full moon Tidhi, that Paurnami, is actually related to Uttarashadha energy. So anything that you want to do on the Uttarashadha, they are very good. It's but except generally people say Uttarashadha is not good for travel, and it's not good for concluding or ending some matter, because Uttarashadha is a growing power. It keeps the thing moving, growing, right? So ending a task on Uttarashadha is something like, even if you end, it may have something left because it has to continue. That is Uttarashadha energy. So if you want to stop some activity on some day, don't stop it on Uttarashadha, right? So, and it's not very good for traveling as well. And Uttarashadha is generally good for everything except committing unlawful activities, because its deity is Vishadeva. So much of, you talk a lot about ethics when you talk about Uttarashadha. I did not talk much about ethics in my videos, but I only told in the second video itself all the good qualities, because if you go to some astrologer, and if you ask him to talk about Uttarashadha, he would be liking to talk about all the good qualities more, and also ethics more and more. We just said, because how much you talk about ethics, I already told you it's a very good nakshatra, that is very good enough. And I also told you while quoting, Lloyds of Uttarashadha energy are very, very ethical. They strive for good. That I told you, that is good enough, right? To emphasize the ethical nature, ethics related to Uttarashadha. It's something like an Uttarashadha person, he doesn't want to go late to some place. He wants to be on time. He wants to do even if he goes late, he would feel bad, kind of. that kind of ethics they have inside a lot, right? So it's something like, see, when you're doing something unethical, right? Let us say Uttarashadha person is doing something unethical because of some planetary position in the horoscope. But as he has Uttarashadha energy inherently, he would feel bad for sure inside. No doubt at all. He would not enjoy doing unethical things. So that is Uttarashadha. It's a very, very positive nakshatra, I want to tell you. It's not good for traveling, it's not good for unlawful activities, it's not good for endings, it's not good for unethical, rude behavior. It's not good for all this. Right? And the positive things you can take any you understand the energy of Uttarashada. Any you plan for any new beginning because it will grow ultimately. You found laying out plans or initial plans for any activity, beginning anything new, laying foundations. You start any spiritual activity, religious activity, you start anything, it will grow on the day of Uttarashada. If you start, it will grow. And putting one's efforts in order. If you have something messy, you can try putting in order, because Uttarashada is very famous for ordering also. And activities requiring great or correct judgment, all types of business things, signing contracts, promotions, authoritative acting, right? Something like, because it's a sun's nakshatra, it's very much related to authority also. It's very much famous for leadership also, right? So any beginning, new venture, marriage, sexual activity, entering a new residence, these are all the regular things, right? People ask on the day of Uttarashada, you can perform. Of course, it's based on Navatara concept also. For some nakshatra, if Uttarashada is not a right, based on your nakshatra, let us say somebody would have, let us say for someone, um, let us say Pushami Nakshatra is good. Of course, it is not good for marriages for anybody. But let us say for someone Pushami is a good. Generally, Pushami is a good nakshatra, right? It's a Kamadhenu nakshatra. It's it's related to prosperity and auspiciousness. But somebody having Pushami as a Vadha nakshatra in the Navatara concept, I will try to post a video on Navatara. So if it is a Vadha nakshatra, yes, they should not perform that the activity, even some good activity on, he should not start on the day of Pushami, because Pushami is a Vadha nakshatra for that particular nakshatra. So for every nakshatra we have 9 sections. So I will try to make a video on that, but generally what kind of energy a nakshatra has, that's what I am telling here. So it's a very good nakshatra for all these good things, legal matters, political things, sexual activity, or marriage, or if you want to enter a new residence, right? So it's one of the best nakshatras for initiating any kind of activity generally, right? That is Uttarashada. It's a very good nakshatra. And if you see the planetary ruler, Sun is the main planetary ruler of this particular nakshatra, and the solar principle which was born in Kritika. What are the solar nakshatras? Kritika, Uttara Falguni, and Uttarashadha. The solar base or the solar energy born as in Kritika nakshatra, it reaches its maximum energy in this particular Uttarashadha energy. Uttarashadha nakshatra. Kritika is something like seed of sun's energy or solar energy, and Uttara Falguni is something like flower of solar energy, and Uttarashadha is treated as the peaks of solar energy. And that's why when sun enters Capricorn, we celebrate Makar Sankranti in the month of January. Sun is entering Capricorn means what? Of course, it is traveling from Uttarashadha first pada to Uttarashadha second pada. But see, the sun's energy is reaching maximum there, right? Is going more and more. So theoretically, if you say that the sun does not exist after this nakshatra, it's something like it is reaching its peak It's not like sun's energy does not exist. Sun's energy is still present, but there is no sun nakshatra after this one. But it has the maximum energy of, solar, the sun related, the religious or ethical, this all this kingly qualities and all. So it means that what it means basically, why sun sun's energy is finding its maximum expression in this nakshatra. I want to tell you that, see, the soul's ability to affect its surroundings, the soul's ability to affect its surroundings. Your soul is impacting your surroundings, you know that, and that impact is reaching its maximum in this particular nakshatra. Finding the soul, Kritika is also about finding the self or giving more priority to self and all, Kritika people. But if it is acting in a lower level, lower plane, let's see how much selfish they would be, Kritika people. Uttara Falguni is also like that, self-centered. But once that self-centeredness is gone after some years of their life, they would concentrate on self-realization. Of course, you need to check all the planetary positions to comment that this Uttara Falguni people would reach that particular level in their life or not. But initially, if it is acting in a lower level, Uttara Falguni, completely self-centered, self-related things, they talk about self. They focus on their self. They focus on themselves, right? Of course, they are good only. Uttara Falguni, I made a video, you can watch. It's a very exact video I filtered with so many Uttara Falguni energy people only. And this particular nakshatra, which is Uttarashadha, is also related to self in the lower levels. But after that, it would realize, right? So, of course, the whole horoscope is to be checked if the other energies are permitting them to know themselves and to get that self-realization. And in its highest aspect, the individual will is completely tuned. The willpower, the will of the individual is completely tuned with the universal will. So all the actions on a worldly plane are taken without the involvement of self, without the involvement of ego, without the involvement of selfishness. So thereafter, so once they realize, right, once they transformed, this Uttarashadha people they can act without self, without ego, without self-centeredness, without selfishness, and that is the moment when they would work along with the universal will, according to the universal will, right? So that is possible with Uttarashadha. That's why it is a very good nakshatra, right? Once the self thing is gone, because the self is finding its maximum expression here, and once it is gone, then just imagine how much they can do, right? So the sense of right, what is sense of this particular losing or recognizing the self, or acting above self, beyond self, acting beyond self? Initially, of course, it is also finding its expression through ego, self-centeredness, selfishness, and those things only, because it is a self-related nakshatra, because sun is related to self and ego. It's the sun's nakshatra, but it is maximum here. So once this thing is gone, it's a very much, compared to other nakshatras like Kritika and Uttara Falguni, Uttarashadha people can understand this self concept more easily, and then they can transform easily, right? And that's why they see, once the person is not thinking about self, then what they can think about? They think about the right order, they think about ethics, they think about law, they think about all the good behavior only. That is Uttarashadha. That's why it's a good nakshatra, I'm saying, right? So the sense of right and wrong which is required here is not related to personal human laws but to the divine laws of the universal mind once the self concept is gone. So this is the nakshatra where the ego and individuality is sacrificed for the sake of the greater good. Right? Self is gone because the self is finding its maximum expression here and there is no self after this. They have that self thing. They enjoy that self thing more and more. That's done inside. Right? So if Uttarashadha is not acting in its lower level, then Uttarashadha people are the people who are going to work according to the universal will and sacrifice everything for others. That's why you can see the Uttarashadha people who can easily recognize the self, who can think beyond the self. You can find in this section only, in Uttarashadha Nakshatra only. And once they realize that, once they start thinking beyond self, then they donate everything to the poor, they do everything for a cause, they do everything for society. Right? That's why it's a very good nakshatra. And there is a very much scope, a very good scope for these nakshatra people, for this nakshatra people, to find the self expression, to find that self easily, to think beyond the self very easily, compared to Kritika and Uttara Falguni. Kritika and Uttara Falguni, they're still, thinking about self, how they are, the self-centeredness, selfishness. But still, in these nakshatras also, in Kritika and Uttara Falguni also, once the other planetary positions are good, right, they can find the self, they can start thinking beyond the self, and they do a lot of things for the betterment of the good, for the betterment of the society, for betterment of the people. But they should have much more combinations in the horoscope. But for Uttarashadha, it's very easy comparatively. And as it is talking about self more, as it is a sun's nakshatra, it is possible in this compared to other nakshatras. Because there are other service-oriented nakshatras, so many. But the service-oriented nakshatra, is it really finding the self and thinking beyond the self? That is a different thing. They're interested in doing service and that's why they are doing. But not this. The sun related nakshatras are not like that. They are really finding the self and started thinking beyond the self, that their service is a pure, it's something like they understood that they are above that self, right? So that there's a lot of difference. That's why Uttarashadha is treated as a good nakshatra by our ancient Vedic sages. Hope you understand here, right? And this nakshatra lies in the signs Sagittarius and Capricorn. See that. Jupiter and Saturn, Uttarashadha first pada, Sagittarius, last area, and then Saturn, that area, Capricorn, the other three padas of Uttarashadha. So Jupiter and Saturn. So they have a strong relationship. Jupiter and Saturn have strong relationship with Uttarashadha. We can say that because of their planet sign rulership. And now see, one more thing is Jupiter and Saturn also rule the four padas of this particular, combinedly they rule, and the combination of expansive Jupiter and contractive Saturn signifies moderation and practicality. Jupiter is expansive in nature, Saturn is very contractive in nature. So Saturn is very practical, completely practical, right? Capricorn is the world of practicality. And so this nakshatra has that practicality a lot, action a lot, right? They strongly believe this, by words you cannot do anything, by only actions we can do something in our life. So the combination of this expansive Jupiter and contractive Saturn is present in Uttarashadha. And so Jupiter reaches maximum debilitation in the Capricorn, if you observe. And so from this you can say that this part of the nakshatra is not suited for too much hope, idealism, expansiveness, or outer religious displays and rituals. Right? They do not do it heartfully, whatever this rituals and all, they do not do it heartfully, because Uttarashadha here in this particular nakshatra in Capricorn area, only Jupiter debilitates in Capricorn area. So Capricorn is all about practicality. That's where they are lacking. Of course, you may find some Uttarashadha person doing some rituals and all, but they are much more beyond. They are beyond the self. They are not into this, rituals and all. Generally, even if they do some rituals and all, they may not do much more heartfully. I want to say that, because they are about this one, right? The spiritual or the self, that kind of, not completely spiritual, but Jupiter is not having much work here in the Capricorn world. It debilitates, so it is not suited for too much of hope. It is not too much, it does it not suitable for too much of idealism, because Jupiter is idealism and there is no idealism here. And it is not suitable for hope also, religious displays and all the stuff. And even if they do some religious display, that is for just uh, for the social cause, or for some, you know for the betterment of other societies and all. That's the only thing. And if Uttarashadha is, let us say, is working in its lower level, then also the person may show, just for show off, they do the religious display for self benefit, because Uttarashadha is not finding much, that is acting in its lower level for that particular person, right? So, in simple language, I want to tell you one thing. See, this is the place for action, not words, not about words. It's an action-oriented nakshatra, especially the Uttarashadha 2, 3, 4. Starting the area of Capricorn where there is no religion at all. Capricorn world is the karma house. In Capricorn world, if you go into the Capricorn world and if you say them, hey, instead of doing your work or instead of doing your karma, pray God, then you may get some results. They don't believe it. This sentence they don't believe. It's a karma oriented house. They believe only do some karma, then you can get results, not by praying God. They say it very loudly. And they do not understand also. If you say them, see, not only doing work, praying God is also required to get success. If you say this one, they do not believe in it heartfully. They don't believe it. They only believe in action. They only believe in karma, because Uttarashadha 2, 3, 4 is completely into Capricorn. Capricorn is the world where there is no God, no religion, no chanting, nothing. Only karma. It's a karma house. Do action, get success. That's it. That's the equation. Right? So that's why we're saying there is no religious display in Capricorn. There is no Jupiter. Jupiter debilitates here. Jupiter is basically religion. Right? So the concrete practical action, concrete, very solid practical action, that is what they believe in. So it takes place here and it shapes the material world according to the universal will. Right? They work beyond the self. They do some karma and they do. Right? And Jupiter Saturn, if you find Jupiter Saturn conjunction, that is also similar to Uttarashadha, because it has connection. Uttarashadha first pada is Jupiter 2, 3, 4 Saturn, and Sun Jupiter conjunction also Uttarashadha. Sun Saturn conjunction is also Uttarashadha. Sun Jupiter Saturn. All this, they carry similar energy of Uttarashadha. And even more, Mercury, take Venus, Jupiter. These three actually, unless operating from their higher aspect, can make one too much materialistic. When you find Mercury, Venus, Jupiter here, they become much more materialistic. If they are not, Of course, whole horoscope is to be checked for this matter, but I'm telling you generally, Mercury, Venus, and Jupiter, they give a lot of materialistic behavior if one of these is placed in Uttarashadha. And especially if placed in the Capricorn part of this nakshatra, they become too much materialistic. Because this Jupiter, Venus, and Mercury, when they are in Capricorn, they're going to make the person too much materialistic. And all planets, when placed in this nakshatra, are prone to excessive and misplaced idealism unless the individual will is working in harmony with the universal will. So, every error one makes under this influence of this particular nakshatra is magnified. So, if you try to understand the area of this Uttarashadha nakshatra, see, we need to talk about that one particular thing, that is Jupiter is not feeling comfortable in this area. Jupiter is idealism. So when idealism is not comfortable in a particular area, it can be treated as excessive idealism, or it can be treated as a kind of misplaced idealism. Generally speaking, Uttarashadha people would suffer from these two qualities generally. That is excessive idealism. Okay, they talk about big ideal people in the world. They try to take those idealism, those ideal people as examples, and they try to follow that in their life excessive. And whether they follow it or not, it depends upon other planetary positions. But generally, Uttarashadha people, they generally talk about this excessive idealism. See, when you're not able to follow some idealistic things, why you want to talk about that? That is the a suggestion one can give to Uttarashadha, right? If you're not much into that idealism, why you are concerned about that at all? Why you are feeling a kind of guilt or feeling a kind of problem in that area? So the excessive idealism or misplaced idealism is the problem in this area, because Jupiter is not comfortable in this area, 2, 3, 4 especially. So every error one makes under the influence of this particular nakshatra is basically magnified due to some kind of enormous capacity of this nakshatra to influence the material world. So whatever error this Uttarashadha people make, generally magnified. Let us say they are acting against the society rules in one or the other matters, right? Something like a Uttarashadha person is, let us say he has one wife, but again he has another wife. Let us say 2 wives he has, right? So it's a kind of, it seems to be, it's not idealism, right? Generally in India, of course, is up to their own individual personal life, but that is a different. But I am talking about the energy of this nakshatra. Let us say Uttarashadha person has 2 wives. That is treated as an error for the society. As they are Uttarashadha people, see, for normal people, for other people, it may not be a very big thing. The other non-Uttarashadha people might have married two wives, and the society is not showing that as a showing the society is not showing that as in a magnifying glass for non-Uttarashadha people, but for Uttarashadha people, society shows it is in magnifying glass. So whatever error they make, right, that is generally magnified by the society, because what they are trying to do is more into materialism, because Uttarashadha is more into the material world of Capricorn. So one is ready for the competition in the material world, whether it can be uh, right, whether it can be anything in the material world. Also they want to hit the, let us say, when they are trying to act in a biggest material world, they are acting upon more materialism, then the people have to show some error in their life in order to beat them, because already Uttarashadha has some leadership issues associated with it. Let us say Uttarashadha person wants to become a CEO of a company. CEO of a company can be anybody. It doesn't matter what is their personal life and all. But let us say, by including the personal life of Uttarashadha person, by commenting on the personal life of Uttarashadha person, if I am able to make the Uttarashadha person eliminate from the competition of that CEO, yes, the society would do that. Even if it is a small error, they show it. Even if it is a small error, it can be sometimes a small error also, but the society would show that small error in a magnifying glass and try to eliminate the Uttarashadha person from the competition, because that person is running after the material world. So there is a problem with idealism related matters. That's what I want to tell you related to Uttarashadha, because Jupiter is not comfortable here. So whenever you see something related to Uttarashadha person or Uttarashadha energy, the idealism comes into the question. It comes into the matter in any which way. This is a notable point I want to tell you. Right? So why this small error the society is showing up? If they are not running for the material world, they would ignore this Uttarashadha person. But what this Uttarashadha person is doing, he is trying to be in the competition, in that materialism, in that material world. So the other people have to show some error, some problem in the life of this particular person. So related to idealism matters, right? Idealism matters. The society shows some mistake related to Uttarashadha. That is the main concept I want to talk about here. I already talked about, right? Because Jupiter is not comfortable. The idealism, the planet of idealism is not comfortable here. You got it? Uttarashadha is ethical. I agree. Uttarashadha is a very good nakshatra. Pure-hearted, very good, sweet. Done. Very nice. If they are into some level of materialism, that is a kind of okay. But if they are running too much into, but they are into material world. They are into material world because it's Capricorn energy more. So 2, 3, 4 especially, they find difficulty with the idealism related matters when they are running after this leadership or running after this material world. The society would show some small error related to idealism related matters, and they try to reduce the fame of this particular person, this particular Uttarashadha person. And the sexual animal related to this nakshatra, as we discussed in our other videos, is mangoose. We talked about this in the first video itself. So Uttarashadha is not very sexual in the first place, which is clear from the fact that the mangoose has no compatible sexual animal among other nakshatras. So they find problems in the sexual compatibility. Cannot say much like they're not sexual, they're not very much sexual, even though they are. If let us say in a horoscope, let us say for a Uttarashadha person, if some planet is very good, like Mars is your drive and everything, Mars is good, yes, that person would be good only. But generally this nakshatra energy cannot give much sexual behavior. If Mars is good, somewhere it is exalted or somewhere it is very comfortable, then yes, the person would have good amount of drive and all the thing. But the sexual compatibility, again, it's a problem here, because with mongoose generally we don't find much sexual compatibility among the other nakshatras. So it's something like we generally say sexuality is not Uttarashadha's domain. We generally say that. And there is a story, the birth of Ganesha, right? We talked about, whenever you talk about Uttarashadha, you talk about Dhruva story, the story of Dhruva, and also the story of the birth of Ganesha, that carries within itself all the tragedy, divinity, and also whatever the enforced sacrifice, renewal and regeneration. This is all Uttarashadha, it is there. So even if it is losing something, it will gain, right? It will gain for sure. And in short, if you want to know the story, see, Parvati created a mind-born son, you can say. It's a kind of small idol kind of, and she gave life. She asked Brahma to give life to that small boy, and the person got life. Of course, the person is actually Vinayaka. We talk about that. So, and Ma Parvati instructed that particular small boy. Actually, he got life now because of Brahma, and so Ma Parvati instructed him to stand as a god, and not to let anyone enter into her house as she was bathing, right? So, but during that time, her husband Shiva, he was actually returning home, right? So Shiva was bade entry by Parvati's son. Of course, he is Vinayaka, as we said. So Shiva had not seen this boy before near his home, so, and did not know who is this boy was, and the boy in turn did not recognize Shiva. There is a problem there, right? So because Shiva did not know about this boy, and this boy did not know about Shiva, so kind of harsh words exchanged in the conversation, and a kind of battle erupted there. And so Shiva could not defeat this boy. So he felt very humiliated after being defeated by a mere child. So he sought the help of Vishnu and other gods to defeat the child. Actually, this is the story. So in the battle, all of the gods together were unable to defeat this boy. And Vishnu finally came up with a plan that someone should fight with the boy from the front, while he flew from behind you know, and take the mace out of the body's, out of the boy's hand. So Vishnu's theory was that the boy could not be defeated until the mace was taken out of his hand. And the plan worked. And as Shiva was able to even cut the boy's head, it's a very tragic story with his trident, a Trishul. As soon as Vishnu's vehicle, Garuda, the celestial eagle, snatched the mace. So Garuda snatched the mace and Lord Shiva cut the head of the boy. And as he was Parvati's mind-born son, she immediately came to know of his death, and the whole story flashed before her mind's eye. Parvati came to know even she was in the house, right? So because Vinayaka was Parvati's mind-born son. So she became enraged and summoned all the Shaktis, all the feminine forces fundamentally of the universe to create havoc on Vishnu, Shiva, and all the rest of the gods. So the whole creation went completely, a kind of disturbance, and all the gods were scared out of their wits, out of their energies, and out of their powers. So Vishnu realized that the whole universe would collapse if Parvati was not appeased that particular moment very quickly, So this could only be done if the boy was brought back to life. So Vishnu instructed the gods to descend on earth and bring back the head of the first thing they saw. So they saw an elephant, and swiftly gods returned with head of elephant, and Vishnu and Shiva attached the elephant's head to the to the boy's body, and which the boy came to alive. So finally Parvati's anger subsided, right, reduced, and the universal order was restored. The order of the universe, basically, it was restored after that. So the boy was named Ganesha. In something like, Ganesha means a leader of Ganas, leader of tribes, or leader of Ganas. Ganas are actually, they are a bit different people altogether. So, and he was also given a boon that whenever anybody does puja, first worship should be for Ganesha. So that kind of boon was also given to him. So that way Parvati was happy. Ma Parvati was happy. So you can see, this is the story. Whenever you talk about Uttarashadha, you talk about this story. Something like there can be some kind of loss related to Uttarashadha, but after that it's something like it's a kind of a peak success, is also noted with Uttarashadha energy, right? Because Ganesha initially, he lost a very important, in the story, Shiva cut the head of Ganesha, but later he got a new head and all great powers, and he was also given a boon that anybody, if does some puja, as the first thing is worshipping the Ganesha. So it is a 21st nakshatra. Uttarashadha is a 21st nakshatra. It relates to the number 21. And according to the ancient people, this 21 is called the crone. The crone, basically. So crone means, what is this crone? It's the seventh sacral center, that is, it is related to Sahasrara Chakra, which is the final resting place of the Kundalini. And it's a special number. Basically, it is a multiple of the two sacred numbers, 3 and 7. 3 and 7 are generally treated as sacred numbers, and that is a multiple of two sacred numbers, this 21. So we know that there are 3 channels in our body according to Ayurveda, you can say. There's Ida, Pingala and Sushumna, nadis, right? The channels. We say nadis or channels. So Ida, Pingala and Sushumna, which carry the life force within our astral bodies through the 7 sacral centers. So 3 nadis, that is 3 channels, 7 astral centers in our body. So 3 nadis, so is 3 life. These 3 and 7, so that's where this 3 and 7 has got a lot of importance in our astral body, you can say. So 21 can be seen as a summation of the passage of these 3 channels through the 7 sacral centers. So Uttarashadha, so therefore relates to perfection on all levels, physical, mental and spiritual. It's the most victorious nakshatra. Because the victory here, see why they talk about this Lord Ganesha story here, is something like they want to note a very important point, that even though there is a kind of loss related to Uttarashadha, even let us suppose it may not happen with everybody, but Uttarashadha people definitely, even if they have some loss, no need to worry about that. You will get huge success. Of course, you need to check the other planetary positions, but Uttarashadha energy has this one. It ensures victory. If some planetary positions are going very bad, then of course it's a different story even for Uttarashadha people. But Uttarashadha itself has a very, very notable energy, that is, they can get victory at any point, at any level. How much victory? See the story of Ganesha. Even after losing head, even after losing life, he got back the life and he became a great deity. Without Vinayaka Puja, you would not finish your any kind of Vedic ritual, any kind of Vedic stuff, right? You want to perform any Vedic stuff, you have to chant, you have to pray, you have to worship Vinayaka first. Then only your puja will get success. Otherwise, without Vinayaka Puja, without chanting, at least you need to chant that Shuklam Bharadharam Vishnum Sheshvarnam Chaturbhujam Prasannavadanam Dhyayet Sarva Vignopashante. Without this one, at least, so some people they do some homas and all, they initially do some Ganapati Homa and then they continue. Or if they do some other pujas or something, they do Vinayaka Puja first and then they continue. Even if a person performs a normal Sandhya Vandana, right, he has to first worship Lord Vinayaka, Lord Ganesha. Then only he has to start his puja. You getting it? So that much of boon was given to Vinayaka, that much of importance given. Life came back and he has given that much, and he became Ganadhipati, means he became the master of Ganas. Just imagine the kind of respect he has got. Getting it? So a prominent Uttarashadha person's life, if you observe, there would be some kind of, in their life, a part of life is something like a kind of a bit bad, but after that, just imagine with less efforts also he gets a lot of respect, a very big position. That is possible. Of course, I'm telling this again and again, other planetary positions also have to be checked. But Uttarashadha energy alone has this capacity. But this capacity should be allowed by other planetary positions also. Based on that, the kind of position they get is depending upon. You got it? Uttarashadha sets the theme. If the theme is like that, but other planetary positions are allowing or not. If they are allowing, yes, as Uttarashadha person would see good heights. Right? Very good, lucky star, you can say. And even in the tarot reading, the 21st card is the world, which is seen to represent the whole earthly plane of existence with all its complexities and diversities. So it also represents perfection and finality from universal perspective. If you talk about, then Uttarashadha is practical, very practical, as it is completely in more is in Capricorn. Capricorn is the world of action, world, not the world of words or world of chanting. It's the world of action, world of work. So we can easily relate this particular world symbolism also with Uttarashadha's deities, as Vishwadevas, right? The world. And when you talk about a nakshatra, you also talk about a sage generally. The sage related to Uttarashadha is sage Kratu. See, one of the 7 celestial sages looking after the affairs of our galaxy. So the name of the sage translates to the inspirer. So inspiring others is one of the main functions of Uttarashadha, as its own goodness sets examples for others to follow. The goodness mainly. A very good. Once you are thinking beyond the self and doing work, then that is inspiring only, right? So it's a good nakshatra basically. See, sage Kratu means, see, Kratu is associated only with some good nakshatras, Benin nakshatras, right? So that's why they associated with sage Kratu. And if you're suffering from bad effects of Uttarashadha, let us say some malefic planet is in Uttarashadha, so you're suffering from bad effects of Uttarashadha, then the root mantras are Om Bha, Om Bham, right? 108 times, especially when moon transiting Uttarashadha. This is a general remedy. Or also on the lunar month, that is Ashadha, the second part of Ashadha Masa is in July, right? And even worshipping Lord Ganesha is another remedy for them if you're suffering from bad effects of this nakshatra. Even if you have some good effects, you can worship Ganesha, you can chant this mantra. And it is very helpful for Uttarashadha people having good energy of Uttarashadha, I'm telling, not the malefic energy, not some malefic planet sitting in Uttarashadha, some good planet sitting in Uttarashadha. For that people, it's very helpful to wear all orange, yellow and light blue colors and whites as well. And Swami Vivekananda was born with Uttarashadha rising on his ascendant. So you can see he exuded the 10, he has got all the 10 qualities of the ruling deities, the Vishwadeva's qualities. If you observe my second video, right? So Vivekananda has that rising, Uttarashadha rising. Well, Uttarashadha is a good nakshatra in the Kali Yuga at something like, if you're good and doing some materialistic work, then people are a bit normal, in some normal positions. And of course, if some planetary positions are working well, then they would become very, very great people, very good celebrities as well. It's a good nakshatra, right? And according to Varahamihira, the people who born with moon in Uttarashadha, they're graceful, they're grateful, they're fortunate basically. They're fortunate, at the same time they are abide by dharma and have many friends. They can have some friends also. They are modest basically. Uttarashadha people are treated as modest according to Varahamihira. So basically that is the energy, the action oriented, not the words oriented. The perfectionism is present here. Also action oriented, a very positive, pure hearted. Once they come out of the self, they can do magic for the world. They can something like they can donate anything for the world. It's not that they are service oriented, I am telling. It is that they are coming out of that self, that selfishness, self-centeredness. So they are beyond self. Once they are beyond that self, as we discussed in this video, that's it. They can do very good things for the society. So in what level this Uttarashadha is working for them depends upon the whole horoscope, right? If sun is exalted, then that's it. See the magic, right? Thanks for watching this video. In the next video we'll try to talk about the 22nd nakshatra, that is Shravana nakshatra. Thanks for watching this video.